Motherhood has a steep learning curve, like a steep learning curve. It is literally a straight line up, like there's no curve. Hey Gabsters, how you Gabsters doing? Thank you so much for joining me on another video. Welcome to another day, another video, another pair of pajamas, because I've decided to embrace them. Actually, it was a comment from one of you Gabsters on my last video. I'm going to read it out loud. That just made me say, okay, you know what, I'm going to embrace these pajama chats of ours, because this is the only way I can get the videos out without feeling stressed, without feeling like I'm putting on a face, without like making this feel extremely what's the word, taxing. The comment that I'm addressing, the comment that I'm referring to is from Sindisiwe Twala. It says, please stop apologizing for looking messy, because you don't. You look so beautiful, yes, even in PJs. Thank you very much. I'm learning so much from you. Thank you for sharing your life journey with us. It truly means a lot. So thank you, Sindisiwe. And the reason why also this comment hit home is that I think one of the things that I've always wanted to do in this channel is to portray real life and to portray my real life, and also the fact that I'm in pajamas the whole day and I'm functioning and I'm able to take care of my child, and I'm happy with her growth, her development. I'm happy with our emotional relationship. I'm happy with my emotional state of being. And to be able to embrace changes in your life, you need to be able, you won't always be able to do it all, and you need to figure out what in your list of things that you do on a daily basis can you put aside, or can you delay, or can you sort of like put on hold, so that you can be able to transition to those new spaces and new places and new roles. I don't believe in the policy of having it all. I think that we can have, we're constantly juggling things, but you can't have all your balls in the air. There'll always be one ball you're holding on and another ball that's in the air, and it's always going to be like that, you know. So thank you for the reminder, actually, that today's video is on the emotional aspects of bringing baby home, and I'm going to tell you about the time we brought Juju being home and some of the emotions and anxieties that I went through as a first-time mom. Enjoy! What today? So it's not like in the movies where, you know, you take the car seat into the hospital, then you put the car seat down and then you walk, and then, like, you know, you put it in the car and that stuff. Actually, at my hospital, what they did was they rolled the baby out, you know, that glass bassinet that they have for, you've seen it, you know, that glass one where the baby sleeps in the hospital. A nurse is going to walk with you to your car, make sure that you actually install the car seat properly and put the baby in, rather than letting you leave the hospital, because then they don't know that when you get to the car, you just put the car seat in the back seat and then just drive without actually like attaching it to the seat belts and all of that stuff. So that's what happened with us, and we had our first fight with that car seat. So just, yeah, like babies, and you know, there's a lot of tension in that moment. There's a lot of excitement, but there's also a lot of tension, and emotions are high and things are happening. But we got baby in, we drove home, very uneventful, and I think the only thing was that the car seat was kind of too deep for her, so we ended up putting like a little baby blanket where her bum would be, just so that she's more of a C curve than a V when she's sitting on the car seat. Like initially she looked like she was like a V, like she was sitting in the car seat like this. So when we put the blanket, she was more of like a, so that was like the first thing, and that went very well. She drove home, no crying, no nothing. And then we got home, it was just babe and I was actually very happy about that. I was quite adamant about the fact that I wanted the first few days to be just us. I didn't want to have people around. I didn't want to have pressure of previous mothers telling me how to do or how to learn her. I just wanted, actually, not even that I didn't want, I just wanted, this was my thinking, I wanted time alone to be able to settle into the role of motherhood without external pressures, without worrying about the other person in the house who might have a different opinion to what I have. I just wanted room to breathe and to get into the role before people come in, so that when people come in, I'm quite confident in what I'm saying, what I'm doing, or I even know what questions to ask. You know, I don't want, because sometimes when you give over control, people will help you, and then when they go away, you realize that actually you didn't learn anything from them. So it was easier for me to sort of figure out, okay, where am I weak, where am I strong, what questions do I need to ask, so that by the time people started coming in, I was very intentional about what I needed and the questions I was asking and those kinds of things. So that worked out very well for us. So we spent the first couple of days just babe, myself and baby, and that was lovely. Like, it was so nice. Like, it was delicious. It was perfect for me. It was perfect. I think that you need to figure out your own personality, because the thing is, if you are somebody who requires a lot of people around you, you're not very controlling, you're an open and easygoing kind of person, then you might be okay with people around you. I am a very tense, highly anxious and somewhat controlling person, and in those circumstances it's always better for me to have space rather than to feel closed in and have people around me, because then in that situation, then my anxieties are just like out of the roof. My need for control like creates like friction with people, and you know, so you need to figure out yourself, your personality, and then be like, okay, this is what I want post-birth. Maybe also you might want to get like maybe a helper to come in during the day, or someone to come in during the day but not necessarily stay over. That could be another middle ground for you, but just figure that part out, because it's quite important actually. It's really important, because the thing is also the first 2 weeks almost, I think for us, or for me at least, that first 2 weeks, by the third week, fourth week, things were a lot better, but your emotions are literally like moving from extremes. Like, it's extreme joy, it's extreme, like you're like so happy and you're crying because you're so happy, and in that crying, you know, you just like the gravity of what you've done, the gravity of this human, the gravity of the world, and how this world is so messed up, and how this person is brought into this messed up world and everything. So you're crying, you're laughing, you are excited, you are anxious. All of those emotions are like 100 or 1000% heightened. So you are constantly like moving from like one emotional, and it's like this, like literally, like you'll be sitting watching TV and crying, like like I remember Jimmy like playing PlayStation, me watching him play PlayStation and crying, and him just looking back and like just looking at me crying, and like just like in his head I'm sure he was like, what is wrong with this woman? But I'm like holding baby's not crying, baby's like sitting there like sleeping away, and me so yeah, it can be quite an intense period. So it's very important for you to have a space that is accommodating and fulfills your needs and doesn't make you feel. And then what happened with breastfeeding? Breastfeeding is a whole different video on its own, but I will tell you that basically the first 2 weeks of breastfeeding suck. Like, it is painful. It is so painful. It is so painful. I understand why people like give up on breastfeeding. I get it. Like, I honestly get why you would give up on breastfeeding. It is so painful. Like, like you dread your child being hungry. You just like you bring them to the boob, they're like crying, you like, and then like you put them on, and then you squinch, and then you put them on, and then you just like. But I'll do a whole separate video on breastfeeding. But it's sore, but if you stick with it, it stops being sore and it becomes beautiful, smooth thing. But wow, I'll do a whole video on breastfeeding. This is just the first initial 2 weeks of our lives, and I'm just going through the highlight. I want to talk about some of the things that were quite unexpected for us, and this video is really about like the emotional part of bringing baby home. So I want to talk about the unexpected things Motherhood is the unexpected emotional parts of it. Motherhood has a steep learning curve, like a steep learning curve. It is literally a straight line up. Like, there's no curve. Actually, it's just a straight line up. Like, you just like, that's what motherhood is like. It's like, it just feels like you just like I don't know nothing. I know nothing. But it's not even that I know nothing. It is the emotional aspect of it, that feeling of needing to get this right, and that feeling of needing to settle the baby soon, and that feeling of, you know, like making sure that baby's not anxious, not crying, not like, it just takes over, and then it makes you feel like you know nothing, and it makes you feel like you're failing, and it makes you feel like, so you just feel like, I know nothing. But you'd probably know something. And you probably know a lot more than you think you know, because why is the baby still alive 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? But the feeling of I don't know anything really comes from a place of sort of the anxieties of not being able to get everything right the first time round. And because babies are also quite vocal about what they want and what they need, or rather they're quite vocal about the fact that they have a need, and you need to figure out what that need is, and it's not quite a visible apparent thing, that you just, there's that feeling of like, I don't know. Because you don't know how to read the baby, you don't know how to read this, it then translates to I don't know, and potentially I'm a failure. And that is like, that is quite taxing, which is why then it feels like you're having this like steep. And babies are constantly changing also. Like what worked today for your baby won't work tomorrow. What didn't work yesterday is going to work today. They're constantly changing, and you're constantly adapting. So it's like that's why the curve is also so steep, is because there's no certainty. There's no I did this today and tomorrow's gonna work and tomorrow's gonna work. Certain things do and other things don't. So it's just like a constant making sure that your detective skills, your reasoning skills, your logic skills, your okay, if not A then B, if not B then C, if not C then D, if not D then E, if not E then F, all the way to Z, and then start afresh and say, what about A, B? Well, maybe it's A, D, and F. Maybe it's G, M, I. You know, like it's just, you constantly like, you have to be like on it, right? So with that steep learning curve, I found the first 2 weeks to be the easiest when it comes to baby. They were literally, for me, the easiest. Your baby wants to eat, poop, and sleep. You don't have to worry, you don't have to figure too much out about them. I think I was lucky. I think I had quite a chilled out baby, so I didn't have colic to worry about. I didn't have, as she would wake up, she would eat, she would poop, she would sleep. There wasn't really much going on in that first 2 weeks that I needed to figure out about baby. Yes, I was tired physically. I was not, you know, there's a new baby in the house, they're waking up every 2 hours, but she was automatic. The more they grow, the more they require you to be present, the more they require you to like adapt to them, because the more they grow, the more aware they are of the world around them, the more aware they are of themselves, and the more particular they are about what they want, when they want it, how they want it, and those kinds of things. So like when my baby was a baby, when Jujubin was a baby, I didn't have to worry about how I was holding her. There was a time when she was 5 weeks where I couldn't hold her in a particular way because she just hated it. Now she doesn't hate it. Now I hold her that way all the time, and she's like cool with it. She's sleeping. So motherhood, it's so, the first 2 weeks were the easiest because baby didn't require much from me in terms of mental work. Now I find that every day with motherhood it gets harder, but it also gets easier. It gets easier in terms of the physical requirement of you. Like you're not up every 2 hours feeding the baby. The baby's now like sleeping. You figured out some of the physical things that baby needs. You figured out his sleep schedule. So things settle down physically, but emotionally things like they escalate. So it gets better and it gets easier, but it also gets harder. Like with each easier day, something else comes in that makes it a little bit harder. So I think when people say that parenting is hard, it is, but it's also easy. When people say that don't worry, your baby's going to grow up and it's going to become easier, yes, it becomes easier physically, but it's also more demanding in terms of your baby and knowing your baby, like just knowing your baby, like just learning and knowing and adapting to your baby every day. Because like what I said, what you do today won't work tomorrow, and what didn't work yesterday is going to work today. So you can't say, oh, I did this once, it doesn't work, and never try it again. Yeah, baba. Always go back, always go back. Nothing is never done. The other unexpected thing is actually expect loneliness funnily enough. Expect loneliness even if you're in a house with your partner and you know, he's there for you. There is, when you are exclusively breastfeeding and breastfeeding from boob and not breastfeeding from pump, you are sort of attached to the baby and you are working on the baby's schedule. So when the baby's sleeping, you are like probably like in separate rooms all the time. He's probably cleaning the house, you know, cooking, making sure that you're okay. You taking care of baby. If your baby is not sleeping on the bed, like my baby wasn't sleeping on the bed, that means that you are in the bedroom with the baby constantly. So there's like a level of loneliness that comes in, even though you're in a house with people in it. There's like an exclusion where you find yourselves like you two ships passing each other in the night. You know what I mean? Like, yes, you're making the house function. Yes, you're getting things together. Yes, you're probably talking, but you're also living very different lives in that time. Like that first month, you guys are living completely different lives. Even though you're working towards keeping this human alive, the interaction between the two of you can be so, what's the word? Like, just like, it can be quite focused, it can be quite focused on things that just need to be done, you know? So get into those online chats. Like I didn't necessarily chat on online chats, but the pregnancy app I was on and the baby app that I was on has like this chat that I get that gets emailed at I think during the night. So then in the middle of the night I can read through what other people were chatting about. So there's like, you know, there's a topic and then there's people's responses to that topic, or someone is gonna like go into the chat room, ask a question, and people will respond. For me, just reading that was enough. For other people, maybe you might want to actually participate in those chat rooms, but find something for you to be able to feel like connected to the world. And yeah, just find something that will help you feel connected to the world, because it can feel like quite lonely and lonesome, and you can feel like you're going out of your head. And also it's quite nice, like my app is age related, so I'm on a app with like people who had babies in November, so all the things that they're going through are very similar to the things that my baby's going through, so it just like it works out. Okay, so then that steep learning curve I was telling you about, Google becomes your friend. Google, like you are in the middle of the night, you're busy breastfeeding your child, you notice something, you're Googling. I've got such bad like carpal, I don't know if they call it carpal tunnel syndrome or whatever. From one of the reasons is because of like Googling, and the other reason is for other things like holding the baby, kinds of things. But Google becomes your friend. But what you need to do with Google is you need to Google with a pinch of salt. Not everything on Google is king. Particularly there's a lot around like, you know, getting baby to sleep in 5 minutes, keeping baby sleeping. Is baby gonna sleep in the bassinet? You must do this, you must do that, you must do this. Like those things, those timetables, those schedules that people have on there that make you feel insecure about yourself, that make you feel less than a mother because your baby is not sleeping throughout the night in the first week, and because your baby is not doing this and your baby's not doing that. That stuff, read it with a pinch of salt. It's always good to sort of understand the reasoning why people say particular things, or to see what the general trend is. So if the general trend is you know, for example, how long should the baby be awake between sleep periods, right? Like if you go and Google and one person says, oh, the baby should be awake for 30 minutes, someone else says baby should be awake for an hour, watch 5 more videos and see what the medium is, and then sort of be like, oh, okay. But then also your baby might not be one of those babies. Maybe your baby can only be awake from breastfeed to breastfeed, and then like you burp them and then they're sleeping again. Like, so take it with a pinch of salt. Like Google, but also know that whatever happens, whatever that you see, your baby's going to be the one that guides you. So if something is not working, drop it. Don't be like, you know, don't wait, don't be like, I saw this, and no, drop it. You'll figure it out. Your baby's going to tell you what they need. They always eventually settle in, but ultimately follow your intuition, and also follow baby. Like read your baby's cues, like how your baby's crying. Babies have got different cries for different times. There's times when baby can cry and you're like, and you just like not worried, and then there's like sometimes your baby will throw one cry out and you're like you, because you can hear the difference in the cry. So learn your baby and then Google, and then when whatever's doing happens, Google says is not working with baby, you're like, okay, you can read baby very quickly and things don't have to go too left too much. And then, but if baby is responding very well, then it's easier for you to also be like, okay, this is working. I'm going to incorporate it. Spoken about it, you know, I think also in my previous video where I mentioned it, this feeling of territorialness and possessiveness over the baby. And I think the most surprising thing for me is how actually that feeling is so strong and extends to everyone. Like you get this, like you need to protect the cub, sort of like protect the baby, protect the cub, protect the baby. And that feeling extends to everyone other than you. Even you, sometimes you throw yourself in there. You're like, I need to protect her from you. Everyone gets thrown in there. Even daddy's a threat. You're like, you know, I saw, you know, you see these like Instagram posts and it's like, oh, the day I saw him become a father, the day, you know, him fathering my kids is, you know, the day that the ultimate sexy or ultimate husband or ultimate, and it's true. Like you see them, you look at them and they're happy together and you're just like, oh, that's my family, right? Yeah. Then baby decides to throw a little tantrum. And literally you are like, what are you doing to my baby? What are you doing to my baby? It's now no longer his baby or our baby. It's now my baby. What are you doing to my baby? Like, it's like that feeling of like, just like you're just like, I don't know, it's all consuming. So in that process of like all of these extreme emotions and all of these, all of these extreme emotions and sort of like trying to figure out baby out and all of those things and the loneliness that's coming, there's also this just like, you know, I want us to be a unit, but also my emotions are telling me that we are not a unit. My instinct to protect this child is ununiting us. It is saying we are not a unit. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Do let me know if there's anything else. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Alright, bye Gavsters.